Good day, everyone, and welcome to the 18th session of UP Manila Silao Webinar Series IOL 2025. I'm Gabby Velasquez, and I will be your host for today's session. It's a pleasure to have you all here as we work together to share knowledge and collaborate in the field of digital health. So, at UP Manila Silab, as a research and development lab under the UP Manila National Telehealth Center and THC, our mission is to strengthen digital health capacity in the Philippines, driving progress towards universal health coverage. That's why this year, our focus extends beyond our team, and we are committed to empowering a broader community with valuable insights on health interoperability, AI, cybersecurity, and health data standards, among others. So today, we bring you our fifth community-led webinar session, IOL 201 Community Connect Decision Support in Primary Healthcare, the Community Health Assessment Program Philippines Experience. So we're thrilled to discuss a crucial topic on primary healthcare, which is the cornerstone of our health systems. And it's all about delivering essential health services right where people live. And however, many communities, especially the underserved ones, they actually face significant challenges like limited resources, fragmented data, and we've been learning about these for our past few sessions. And today, we'll explore how digital health standards and interoperable tools like decision support systems can actually transform the work of community health workers. And these innovations improve care quality and generate vital data for health system planning. So later um we'll be hearing insights from the Community Health Assessment Program in the Philippines, or the CHAP, and they'll demonstrate how grassroots digital interventions can actually effectively connect the local healthcare delivery with national health information systems. Okay, so I hope you're all excited to learn, share, and connect with fellow members of our community of practice. And let me just extend our sincere gratitude to our partners for their unwavering support in making this webinar series possible. So we have CSIRO Australia through the Strengthening Standards Capability Project, or the SSCP, the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, or the DFAT, and of course the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, or the DOST-PCHRD. Okay. But again, before we proceed with our session, just a quick rundown of the house rules for today. So this session is already being recorded, and by proceeding with the meeting, of course, you are consenting to be recorded. Kindly stay muted throughout the lecture. A virtual background has been provided to your email, so turning on your camera is very much appreciated, especially later during the photo op. We encourage everyone to please change your name for proper identification, and please add your affiliation beside your name for proper recognition if you can. And an example is shown on the screen. So UPM Silab, Juan de la Cruz. Again, this is a community-led webinar session, and we want this to be engaging and interactive. So there will be a Q&A portion after the lecture. So please actively participate and don't hesitate to ask your questions. You have three options. You can either use the raise hand function if you want to ask your questions live, or if you want to type in your questions, you may do so in the chat box. And lastly, if you want to ask anonymously, we have enabled the Q&A button of the Zoom. Okay, and please do not leave the session after the Q&A, as we will be having a group photo. And lastly, to receive your electronic certificates of participation, please don't forget to complete the evaluation form after this session. And please note of the criteria to obtain your certificate. We have sent them to your emails. Okay. And to move on, so here is the community of practice QR code. So we're inviting new friends and colleagues to join UPMC Labs community of practice, which is a group of experts and practitioners all passionate about advancing standards and interoperability in healthcare. So you may sign up to receive our newsletter. Sir JR will be sending the link shortly. So please join our group and receive updates from UPM Silab. So everyone is welcome. And before anything else, just a quick question for everyone. May I know where are all you connecting from? So our speaker is actually from Zamboanga, all the way from Mindanao. So please feel free to share your city or region in the chat box, and let's see where everyone's joining us today. And so I'm joining from Manila. Maayong buntag, Sir JL po. Ayan. Okay, so let's see those chats. So we have from Pampanga, Zamboanga City, Valenzuela, Marikina City. Okay, great. So very diverse group. Laguna as well. So hindi lang po talaga from Manila yung mga participants ng IOL. That's very interesting. Maayong buntag, maayong aga, maupay nga aga, yes. From Sultan Kudaratwa, thank you po for joining us today. We also have from Baguio City. So I hope please po join our community of practice. Ayan. And we hope to learn from each other po from there. So we also have from Batangas. Good morning po. Okay. Um, hold on. I'm just saglit po. Alright, sorry about that. So we have also from Laguna. Maraming salamat po for joining us today. Okay. And so for today's agenda, may I introduce our esteemed resource speaker for this session of IOL 21 Community Connect. So it is my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, a very active community member, Dr. Jaime Christopher Punzalan. Dr. Jaime currently spearheads the Community Health Assessment Program in the Philippines, or the CHAP, as its project coordinator. And this vital program is actually a joint effort between Canada's McMaster University Department of Family Medicine and the Ateneo de Zamboanga University School of Medicine. So in his role, he works closely with a dedicated team, including, I hope they're in the call, Dr. Gina Agarwal, Dr. Ricardo Angeles, as well as Dr. Fortunato Cristobal and Dr. Mary Punzalan, as well as the Canadian team, as part of CHAP's scale-up phase. He also recognizes the foundational work of the former program coordinators, and I hope they're also joining us here today. So we have Dr. LG Gregorio and Dr. Dave Arnuco. So beyond CHAP, Dr. Punzalan is actually a respected faculty member at the Ateneo de Zamboanga University School of Medicine and a practicing medical profession at Zamboanga City Medical Center. His expertise is focused on digital health transformation and strengthening health systems throughout the Zamboanga Peninsula and Western Mindanao. And through his work, Dr. Jaime is committed to improving healthcare delivery and accessibility through innovative solutions. Okay, so without further ado, please join me in welcoming a very dasig, kung alam niyo po yung iba. Very active, Dr. Jaime Christopher Ponsalan. Doc Jaime, over to you po.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir. I'll just stop sharing po my screen so you can share yours. Ayan.
it's been a rainy morning for in Zamboanga, and I hope you're doing fine po in your respective places. Um, so thank you for that kind introduction. So today, with McMaster University Department of Family Medicine and Ateneo de Zamboanga University School of Medicine, I'll be sharing our experiences and insights on decision support in primary healthcare, focusing on our journey with community health assessment program in the Philippines. So to start, let's quickly define primary healthcare, or PHC. It's the first point of contact for individuals within the health system, providing comprehensive, accessible, and community-based services. And PHC is a critical because it doesn't just treat illnesses, it focuses on health promotion, prevention, and rehabilitation. PHC is the foundation for strengthening health systems. It's the best strategy for closing gaps in access, especially in rural and underserved areas, which is very relevant to our context in the Philippines. The Philippine Universal Healthcare recognizes PHC as the health system's foundation. To, operation, to operationalize this, UHC established the Primary Healthcare Provider Networks, or the PCPN, as the network responsible for delivering PHC services. PCPN encompasses barangay health stations, rural health units, city health offices, and occasionally contracted services such as diagnostics and telehealth, Its role is to ensure equitable and accessible services across the communities. Despite these structures, significant barriers exist in low resource settings. Geographic isolation makes traveling to health facilities difficult, especially in emergencies. We also face a shortage of trained healthcare workers, high out of pocket expenses for medications, diagnostics, and transportation, leading to delayed care for or financial hardship, as well as poor infrastructure and connectivity. These factors limit people's ability to get timely and affordable care. These gaps translate to real impacts. Delays in diagnosis and treatment where early signs of chronic disease or infections go unnoticed or untreated. Preventable diseases remain unchecked, fueling disability and premature death. Limited support for community health workers, and widening health inequities where vulnerable groups, including the poor, elderly, and indigenous people, and those in geographically isolated areas. They face deeper disadvantages, perpetuating cycles of poor health and poverty. So who often bridges these gaps? It is often bridged by our barangay health workers or the BHWs. They are the first point of contact in the community, especially in remote areas, and they connect the health system with communities. BHWs speak the local language, understand cultural norms, and build trust. They're critical for health promotion, disease prevention, and early disease detection. BHWs educate families on healthy behaviors, screen for conditions like hypertension and diabetes, and identify warning signs of illness. However, BHWs face significant challenges. Many have limited training, lack resources, and deal with overwhelming workloads, especially as non-communicable diseases, mental health needs, and maternal child health demands grow. They also often rely on paper records, which are time consuming, prone to errors, and disconnected from higher level health systems. This affects referrals, follow ups, and reporting. This is where decision support tools come in. These are digital apps or systems that guide health workers in delivering safe, standardized care based on protocols and best practices. These tools help BHWs make accurate assessments, improve consistency of care, reduce errors, and support training, particularly important in remote areas where supervision and resources are limited. Examples include risk assessment for hypertension and diabetes, follow-up visit reminders, and automatic risk score calculations. This is where the Community Health Assessment Program of the Philippines comes into play. The Community Health Assessment Program in the Philippines is a program implemented in Zamboanga Peninsula that aims to bridge gaps in delivery of care for non-communicable diseases, specifically hypertension and diabetes mellitus. Let me share its history. CHAPP is based on the Cardiovascular Health Awareness Program from Canada. It started in 2000, focused on hypertension and cardiovascular risk, and later expanded to include diabetes. It was proven effective and cost efficient, especially in low resource areas. We adopted this program for the Philippines as CHAPT, or Community Health Assessment Program Philippines, through a partnership with the Ateneo de Zamboanga University and McMaster University in Canada. CHAPT is a community-based, community-based, and BHWs hold walk-in sessions focusing on diabetes and cardiovascular health, providing risk assessments, health education, and referrals. The project aimed to adapt CHAP to an LMIC or low middle income country setting and determine its effect on HbA1c among residents in selected communities in Zamboanga Peninsula. In the implementation of CHAP, we conducted risk assessment using a data capture mobile app on a tablet device. Decision support was embedded via rule-based systems following hypertension and diabetes guidelines. This decision support provided structured guidance on referrals, health education for diet, exercise and weight loss, standardizing care delivery at the community level. The next slides are the methodologies employed to assess CHAPI through randomized community trial or RCT. The program went through phases of adaptation and testing, ensuring it fit the local context and was feasible for community health workers. A multi-phase research project conducted from 2014 to 2019 in selected communities of Zamboanga Peninsula. The four phases were: first, qualitative phase, working with stakeholders to understand context and necessary adaptations. Second, pilot phase to test specific elements. Third, randomized controlled trial or community trial to evaluate the effectiveness of CHAPP. And lastly, knowledge translation and data analysis, and um, the focus of this presentation is the phase three, the cluster RCT. It was a 6-month, 26 community parallel cluster RCT that took place from June 2018 to May 2019. It took place in 5 municipalities. Two of them are urban and three are rural. 13 barangays got the CHAPI intervention and 13 were controlled. The main element of CHAPI intervention is the CHAPI sessions. It is held by monthly walk-in sessions in rotating barangay locations. CHAPI sessions are led by barangay health workers, free of charge for attendees, and aim at community residents aged 40 years old and above. CHAPI sessions include risk assessment, such as diabetes risk, blood pressure testing, weight, and waist circumference measurements. It also includes health education and referrals to municipal health offices or services where needed and available. This diagram in this slide shows the referral process of CHAPP participants, um, participants that are at risk for diabetes and with their blood pressure elevated. Our primary outcome was a difference in HbA1c between intervention and control groups after 6 months. We also track other outcomes like blood pressure, quality adjusted life years, risk factors for diabetes, knowledge levels around hypertension, and diabetes. There were three different types of data collection for three different participant groups. First, random community sampling was conducted with residents aged 40 and above. There were 100 per community at baseline, and 6 months for a total of 2,600 participants in the control group and 2,600 participants in the intervention group. This sampling included measurements of HbA1c, blood pressure, and physical measurements. And a community survey including health behaviors, confidence, knowledge, and health-related quality of life. Second, there was CHAPI session data from community residents who attended at least one CHAPI session. Finally, there were interviews, focus group discussions from BHWs, and other staff who facilitated CHAPI session, including nurses and midwives. The next few slides will outline the main results from this trial. In total, there were 8,312 participants, 3,014 CHAPI session participants, 5,229 community survey or RCT participants. Um, in detail is 2,626 at baseline and 2,603 6 months later. And also 68 implementers of CHAPI sessions who participated in interviews and focus group discussions. So among the CHAPI participants, 85% were 50 years old and above, 71% were female, and 44% were either obese or overweight. 66% had an elevated waist circumference. Notably, significant decreases were seen in systolic blood pressure by the second visit and body weight by the third visit. For the RCT group, there was a significant difference in the systolic blood pressure between intervention and control groups. HbA1c differences also emerged, particularly with longer follow-up. Furthermore, participants in the intervention group showed greater understanding of hypertension risk, concerns about diabetes, and awareness of diabetes risk, a sign that health education was effective. This is a brief overview of the qualitative results from interviews and focus groups discussion with BHWs and other implementers of CHAPT sessions. From their perspectives, the experience was good overall. The implementers felt they could really help residents in their communities. With training, implementers of CHAPI sessions were able to manage technology and other elements of their role. They described the program positively and felt both they and the clients wanted it to continue. And the main challenge that CHAPI implementers described was the lack of availability of medications, doctors, and supplies in the region. With the positive results from a randomized controlled trial, especially in rural areas, we moved forward with the scale-up implementation of Community Health Assessment Program in the Philippines. This was held from 2020 to 2025. The goal was to bring CHAP to more communities across Zamboanga Peninsula, and this meant expanding our reach from a few barangays to a much wider geographic area. CHAPTI scaled up significantly, implemented in three provinces of Zamboanga Peninsula, and it covered about 300 barangays, trained about 1,500 barangay health workers, and reached around 20,000 participants in Zamboanga Peninsula region. In early analysis, paired clusters in the embedded RCT showed reductions in HbA1c and systolic BP in the intervention group, demonstrating promise for broader implementation. Moreover, more implementers gave their feedback on CHAPP implementation, and BHWs felt more confident in health education and referrals. Nurses and midwives integrated CHAPP into existing NCD risk assessments. Lastly, local health officers noted better health seeking behavior and used data for planning and budgeting. Our key takeaway is that decision support tools like the one used in CHAPP empowered BHWs to deliver standardized care and improve accuracy in identifying high-risk individuals. These tools guide safe clinical pathways, support health workers with limited training, and generate data that feeds into the broader health systems. This slide summarizes the critical role of decision support tools in connecting the work done by the barangay health workers, such as those in CHAPP, to the larger health system. On the left, we see our barangay health workers who collect health information and perform screenings in the community. Using digital tools, they're guided to make informed decisions, whether that involves providing health education, recommending lifestyle changes, or referring patients to higher levels of care. Municipal health officers can then analyze this data to identify trends such as rising rates of hypertension or diabetes and determine how to allocate resources, deploy staff, or plan interventions. This means decision support tools do more than help individual health workers. They create a feedback loop between frontline services and the health system, enabling evidence based service and resource allocation. For the digital health to truly integrate into the health system, we need standards and interoperability. HL7 Fire and similar standards enable decision support tools, electronic medical records, and other digital applications to connect seamlessly to national health information systems, thereby avoiding isolated silos. This ensures data flows smoothly across care levels, which strengthens continuity of care, enabling better clinical decisions and avoiding inefficiencies in healthcare. Lastly, uniform data formats and coding systems enable health authorities to merge and analyze data from multiple sources, supporting evidence based planning for staff deployment, supplies, and targeted health programs. Ultimately, we build national health information systems. Um, as we build, as we build national health information systems, we must remember that community health workers are at the grassroots. Digital health should empower them to make safe decisions and connect their work to the broader health system so that no one is left behind in their pursuit of universal healthcare. Again, from the team of the McMaster University, Department of Family Medicine, and Ateneo de Zamboanga University School of Medicine, thank you for listening into this presentation and God bless.
Thank you, Dr. Jaime, for that very brief, however, still a comprehensive discussion on Chappy. Chappy po pala yung pronunciation nun, no? So now I'm opening the floor to Q&A from the group. So are there any questions po? Again, you may either use the raise hand function. You can type in your questions in the chat box, or if you want to ask anonymously, you can use the Q&A button. Okay. Or if you want to share your insights po regarding the presentation, please feel free to do so. Okay, so here we have a first question po from Sir Steven Miliandes. Go ahead, sir. Please unmute po yourself po.
Hello po, good morning po. I'm audible po
Morning po.
from your end
Morning.
po. Okay.
Yes po, you're clear po.
Yes sir. Maayong aga sir from the province of Sultan Kudarat po, Region 12 po. So, first of all, thank you for this webinar talk. Personally, I like your presentation because, to be honest po, I am a biology graduate but being a researcher, kailangan ko rin po na mag-deep dive into a medical field po. And thank you very much, sir, for the presentation po ngayong umaga po. So, you mentioned earlier, sir, that the barriers, especially sa shortage of workers po, and ang impact po doon na nasaid nyo po kanina is poor service, especially sa far-flung areas po, sa mga bukid-bukid po. And you mentioned earlier po na you implement the CHAPI in 3 provinces and 10 municipalities po in the Zamboanga Peninsula region po. So sir, may question lang po ako. Paano po yung mga cancer, yung mga nasa remote areas po? How this Shopee app po or yung app po maka-deliver po or paano po sila makakuan po ng mga data po from the
Yeah.
barangay health station to the municipal office po. Especially for example, yung barangay po is malayo po sa
Yeah.
for example sa isang municipality po. So paano po yun sir?
Mm.
Uh, is tawag dito, yung kwan po nito is pwede po siya makasend with or without internet connection po. Kasi
Yeah.
yun nga, yung napapansin ko po and napaisip ko po, paano yung mga remote areas? Because I know that 10 municipalities in 3 provinces, I know na may mga some barangays na far-flung from the municipality po.
Yeah.
So yun po, ano yung
Mm.
concern, kahit ba walang internet connection, are they still concern, tawag nito, are they still access po pa rin po ba in terms ng pagkuhan po ng data gathering po? Thank you,
Yes po.
sir.
Sige po, thank you very much po, no. With that question po, I would like to tell a story po, no. In our implementation of the CHAPI in one of the municipalities in Zamboanga del Norte, our team was able to go through 2 rivers and 3 mountains to reach a certain barangay. So that's somewhat a geographical isolated and disadvantaged area. And then what is the benefit of having CHAP is that the app that we're using for the data capture is actually has an offline feature. And the offline feature is actually can be used. The offline feature can also support the decision support capacity of the app. If you can remember, the decision support is actually a rule-based system. It's based on the algorithms of hypertension and diabetes guidelines. So we include the guidelines, the algorithms, best practices for management for lifestyle change in the app, and allowed it to be done in an offline feature on like offline um, mode for the app. Now, for the transmission, um, when these barangay health workers conduct CHAPP, they're also managed or overseen by midwives and nurses from the rural health units. So, in this particular situation, um, ang instructions namin, no, our instructions for them is that they will conduct CHAPP through the tablet devices, and after um, they input the data of the community, the nurse of the or the midwife who manages them will bring the tablet to the rural health unit so that they will have an internet connection. So in the rural health unit, that is now the place for them to export the data to the central database, because the central database is actually handled by our university. So the database is actually connected into the three provinces, and we just give feedback with regards to the data that they remit or they export or they send to us. So that's how we did this for the GDAS. But to also acknowledge then, some of the rural health units actually were supported by the ICT. They have the in the implementation period, some of the municipalities were given Starlinks or satellite internet, and they were given actually a 1 year subscription for it. So we were able also to maximize that with regards to the sending of data. So I hope I am able to answer your question, sir. Yes, sir. You have follow-up
Sir,
po?
sir, yes po, one more question po.
Yes
Yung
po.
sa tablet, sir, any of tablet po ba, sir? Or meron pong specific lang po na tablet na
Uh,
the use
yeah.
for use for data gathering po before transferring to the midwives po.
The tablet device is actually it's a Android tablet. Um, it's actually we amounted it to about 14,000 per device, the tablet. So basically, with the tablets available in the market right now, it's actually somewhat not that high end, but can be in terms of the specifications, it's much more common. So any tablet will do.
Uh,
With the app that we're using, it's both. It can be used in both Android and iOS devices.
Sige, sir, thank you po.
Thank you very much, sir, for your questions.
Thank you, Sir Steven, and thank you, Doc Jaime, for answering the question. Sir, here is a question po. Are there any challenges po or encountered when training po the barangay health workers in using this decision support tools? And also another question, and I think related to that then po. So are there any remunerations daw po ba or rewards po to the barangay health workers in using the tools? Over.
Yeah. With regards to the training, um, we were actually if you know in the communities, our barangay health workers actually age 60 years old and above mostly. It's just recently that we have younger barangay health workers in the community. So with regards to that, we trained them, and we actually have a group of barangay health workers from Zamboanga, Sibugay, who were actually appointed by President Marcos. Not the President Marcos now, but actually was appointed on the father of our current president. So it's actually 1970s or 1960s. They were appointed as a BHW. So at first we were somewhat hesitant, but basically with the training program and training guide that we have, we were able to teach them how to use the tablets. So basically, it's more of a user-friendly feature of the app, as well as with the help also of the nurses and midwives who who oversees them, who over sees them and manage them. they were able to also use the tablet maximally and fully. Actually, there were one of the communities that were really active in terms of conducting CHOP in the community. For the remuneration, um, for a research project, it's actually um, ethical to um, ethical to provide remunerations for the barangay health workers. So we gave remunerations uh, to conduct the the sessions for the barangays. But basically, they were able to conduct these CHAPI sessions um, in line with their current activities in the community, like during Garantisadong Pambata or prenatal exams. Also, in terms of sustainability, um, it can be um, it can be gathered from the RHU or from the LGU, given that there should be a more what do you call this, stability in terms of providing and remunerating these community health workers. So I hope I answered that question.
Thank you, Doc Jaime. Yes, I think naman po you answered the question well. Ayan. So here's a question po in the chat. Was Shopee ever combined with other health assessment programs po of the DOH like PhilPen or Purok Kalusugan? And also, I think related to that question, has Shopee have the does Shopee have the potential to be institutionalized as part of UHC implementation po in the Philippines?
Yeah, actually, thank you for that question, no, because actually, after the RCT as well as the scale implementation, we're able to provide evidence that the CHAPI model actually provides benefits not just for the hypertensive and diabetic individuals, but also for our barangay health workers as well as the local health systems. So our goal after those RCT and scale up implementation is to lobby to the DOH on how we can implement CHAPI on and institutionalize it in the health programs of the DOH. So basically, we're planning with the Zamboanga Peninsula Center for Health Development on how we can incorporate CHAPI or how we can incorporate or collaborate CHAPI with PhilPen. No? Because some of the implementation sites, they somewhat um, perform or conduct the PhilPen and the CHAPI risk assessments um, simultaneously so that it will be more efficient for them in terms of gathering data from our individuals. So we hope we're currently scheduling our knowledge translations and presentations with regards to this knowledge adaptation or adoption and institutionalization to the DOH health programs.
Thank you, Sir Jaime. Very interesting, no? And I think that also answers the next question. So can this be applied also in the context of ear and hearing care? I think they want to collaborate, sir, as they're doing a pilot test. So this is from Lauren Reyes. Maybe um the participant also can email you directly, sir, no, for collaboration. But ayun, sir, can this also be
Uh,
applied in the context of ear and hearing care po?
with regard in terms of the community setting, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I think
Um,
so too, sir. Yes.
Basically, we need to study with regards to the ear and hearing care. Uh, with regards to, I'm not really well versed with regards to the context of ear and hearing care. But if we can actually um, translate the decision support tools to the level of the barangay health worker, then maybe it can be done. Maybe, yeah, maybe we can discuss or maybe discuss or collaborate with regards to this in the future. Yeah, well, I think I need to study more about this ear and hearing care before I can say if it is yes or no.
Okay, sige. Tapos here, sir, there's a question also. How are community perceptions of health services affected by the CHAPI? And did this influence trust po in the health system?
Yeah, actually, in terms of the point of view of municipal health officers, they appreciate Shopee because they can have a grassroots or ground level data about their hypertensive and diabetic individuals. So as you can remember, this is the year to 2025 that Mandanas Garcia ruling was applied. So it means that the budget for health, especially for medicines, is actually already devolved to the RHUs, to the LGUs. So they appreciate having the data because they are now able to budget or to put a standard or to put a basis for the number of medications, specifically hypertensive and diabetic medications, in their locality. With regards to the participants, um, there was this in not incident, but there was this experience, no, that when they are doing the CHAPI sessions in the community, in the first two visits, participants are actually what do you call this? More of conscious about their blood pressure, their weight measurements. So with those continuous monitoring, at first they were really maybe sad or um, somewhat uh, discouraged with regards to their measurements or to their um, to their blood pressure, to their weight, to their waist circumference. But eventually, throughout the CHOP sessions done by monthly, um, it actually um, supported their self care. Some of the participants actually um, if kahit naubos yung gamot sa health center or sa RHU, they are the ones now buying their own medicines so that they will be so they will have maintenance or makontrol nila yung diabetes nila or hypertension. So by them, the participants knowing ano yung current status nila in terms of hypertension and diabetes, they were actually um, encouraged to have self-care and to buy their own medicines. For the barangay health workers naman, yun, parang they have that they call this, they have that enthusiasm or they're excited to actually make something because they have that decision support tools to help them in terms of catering to their constituents or to their neighbors basically in their barangays.
So interesting no, sir. So tama po ba with this CHAPI, yung mga patients, they became more adherent in terms of their
Ah,
maintenance medications? Or hindi niya naman po siya nilook into that? More on ano lang, descriptive lang na mas adherent na yung patients because of the
yeah,
CHAPI.
we were not able to include adherence in our outcomes, but in terms of the measurements like systolic blood pressure, diastolic blood pressure, the HbA1c, we were able to note that there was a decrease in terms of these outcomes. So basically, that's why we're actually pushing it, no, to be institutionalized because of these seen benefits.
Mm, okay, noted, sir. And I think that answers po the question of Sir Michael po, no, with regards to what is the rate of decrease in the number, or if you can provide po a rate of decrease in the number over time nung sa cardiovascular disease, hypertension, and diabetes, or if it's not going down or slow in its decrease, why daw po, sir? Ayun.
Basically, in terms of the decrease for the CHOP participants, no, in the CHOP sessions, the weight is actually um, starts to decrease after their second visit. And it continually decreases as they go on with regards to with their visits. And statistically, it is significant. No? Um, if I'm not mistaken, it's actually maybe near 1 kilo per 2 weeks. No, it's not 1 kilo per 2 weeks because it's somewhat questionable, but um, it's actually statistically significant. For the diastolic BP for the visits also decreasing significantly, no, in terms of statistics. So it starts from the third visit, and as they go on with regards to the CHOP session, so in the next visit, in the next follow-ups, um, their BP is actually much more controlled than before.
Okay, I think that's interesting. Ito, sir, here's another question or uh, tawag na to? Sige, I'll just read Dr. Paulo's comment po. I think Chappy can be incorporated with PhilPen as an FHSIS indicator and used to finally revive and refresh the program, which was the last updated back in 2013 pa daw po. Ayun. So, a question, sir. Are you considering to explore collaboration with PhilHealth's guaranteed accessible medications for outpatient treatment or PhilHealth Gamot?
If the opportunity is given, then why not?
Meron po also, sir, if this is also interoperable with the first patient encounter of Consulta po sa PhilHealth.
As of now, it's not because, first of all, it is actually done as of now as a research project.
Hmm.
So basically, if the opportunity is there, then maybe we can also incorporate it, basically in terms of the consulta package. But I think the first thing is for us to lobby with the DOH in terms of institutionalizing this CHAPI, and then I think PhilHealth benefits will come.
Thank you, sir. Here's a question from Sir JL, and I think this one is very relevant. So one big focus in our province is making sure communities are really engaged and feel ownership po over health programs. So in Chapi, what strategies help communities feel that the project was theirs and not just an external intervention?
Yeah. Basically, in terms of doing the CHAPI, um, during the first 5 years of it, there was really a community discussion regards to the implementation of CHAP-P. No, so if you can remember, CHAP from Canada, which started the year 2000, it's actually from a high-income country. So from the high-income country, we adopted it, and then we conducted several community discussions, several trials, pilot testing of the intervention, so that it will be appropriate and feasible in the local context. That includes the training, the application, the features that they need for it. So basically, that is how we made Shopee feasible and appropriate in terms of our local context. And I believe if there's adjustments or any um, improvements that can be done in the project or in the program, that will encourage more adoption in the communities, then I believe it can also be done in terms of the chat project.
Ayan, sir. Um, I think question again from Sir JL, and po, if not yet institutionalized, so can we also do that in our province? So is there any possible funding opportunities po ba to conduct CHAPI in their own provinces?
um, let's see. I am. Let us see. But I would like to acknowledge first the presence of our one of our co-primary investigators, Dr. Ricardo Angeles.
Oh,
He's a Filipino, but he is in Canada, no? Part
oh.
of the Canada team from McMaster University. Doc Rick, are you here?
Yes. He
I saw him
responded
earlier.
actually sa
Yeah, yeah.
ano. sa chat. Ayan. Hi,
Ayun.
sir. Thank you po for joining us. Will you be able to unmute po ba and maybe share a few insights po about the Shopee?
Salamat. Thank you for actually I was just listening in and I'm just trying to answer a few things gabi na kasi dito. I was just listening in. But yeah, one of the things that was asked about was the blood pressure. Yung sinabi ni Jaime na I was actually just typing answers. Yung what we measured was regression models between intervention and control, and also BP over time, both was in favor of the intervention group. So nag-decrease ang blood pressure over time, and also there was a significant difference between the intervention and the control group. I believe we also measured how many, but most of the time it's really like well, and I'm sure I can find it in one of my folders, but right now I don't have it on hand. But we used the means more because of the statistical power that we gain, although we have like 1,300 per group, so it's a lot already. Yeah, and yeah, we're glad that it's helpful yung sa projects namin, and we're also very happy right now with our preliminary analysis, because everything in the RCT, when we scaled it up, it retained. So it seems like the project is successful, and we're very happy that the BHWs was able to implement the program. Maganda rin yung mga training na ginawa nila eh. Pinagsikapan nila talaga yan sa on the ground, paulit-ulit ng visit. And yeah, and even with the training, one of the things that they encountered was when you do training, it's not enough just one training. Kailangan ulit ng retraining. That's why they did fidelity testing. And then after the fidelity testing, when they found that there was some issues with even the encoding with the database, they found that medyo hindi sumusunod yung sa protocol. They had to retrain the BHW. So it was a process, but once we got the process in place, we made an SOP. Now we know how to implement it and carry it over to multiple municipalities. Thank you.
Thank you po, Doc Ricardo, for sharing those very valuable inputs po. And yes, I'd just like to read Sir JL's comment. I think Choppy could actually be used as one of the tools or models to help validate whether DOH and PhilHealth programs really translate to the community level, especially in improving health behaviors and outcomes. Here's a question, sir. Have you explored linking Choppy's monitoring data to national program indicators or PhilHealth performance metrics?
Yeah, as much as possible in terms of the data that we are actually gathering, we try as much as possible to be in line with the national program indicators or the PhilHealth performance matrix. But I think if there's still um, alignment that needs to be done for it to be much more institutionalized.
Thank you, sir. And yes po, late night na po for Dr. Ricardo. Maraming salamat. Magandang gabi po dyan. Ayan. So, I think we have time for one final question from the group. Are there any questions po? Sobrang interesting, Doc, nung ginawa niyo, no? RCT din po pala, tapos kinailap niyo to different provinces. Any question po from the group? Going once? Going twice? Anyone who would like to share additional input regarding Choppy? Okay, I think wala na. Okay, ayan. Before we formally end this session, may I invite everyone to please turn on your camera. Let's have a group photo. 1, 2, 3. Ayan. So thank you all again for joining us today. Remember, the conversation doesn't have to end here. So displayed on your screen is our final topic for the month of July. However, due to a speaker scheduling conflict, we have to cancel our July 30th webinar. So please stay tuned for future updates regarding our schedule. You can always find the latest announcements on our Facebook and LinkedIn pages. So again, if you haven't registered, please scan the QR code on the right part of the screen. All right, so that brings us to the end of today's session of IOL 201 Community Connect, decision support in primary healthcare, the Community Health Assessment Program in the Philippines, or the CHAPI experience. Again, thank you to our dearest speakers, Dr. Jaime, and of course to Dr. Ricardo as well for joining us. Thank you to all of you for joining. Once again, this is Gabby Velasquez. Let's all continue to connect, collaborate, and learn together. See you next week. Magandang gabi, hasta umaga. Bye!